The town of Ravenbrook, nestled between rolling hills and shaded by a canopy of ancient trees, bore witness to the rise and fall of an industrial titan known as the Ravenwood Factory. In its heyday, the factory's sprawling complex stood as a testament to human ingenuity and ambition, its tall chimneys spewing forth plumes of smoke that mingled with the skies above. The rhythmic symphony of gears turning, steam hissing, and looms clacking filled the air, a harmonious cacophony that reverberated through every corner of the town. For decades, the Ravenwood Factory had been the lifeblood of Ravenbrook, a bustling hive of activity that provided employment to generations of its residents. The factory's massive gates, adorned with intricate ironwork that depicted scenes of industry and progress, welcomed workers each morning with a sense of purpose and duty. Families relied on its prosperity, and the factory's heartbeat resonated with the beating hearts of the town's people, an interconnected existence that seemed unbreakable. But as the world shifted and evolved, so did the fate of Ravenwood Factory. The relentless march of time wore away at the once mighty fortress of industry. Economic upheavals and changing consumer preferences cast a shadow over the factory's prosperity. The once vibrant halls, where skilled artisans had meticulously crafted textiles, began to show signs of neglect and disrepair. The rhythmic symphony grew fainter, replaced by the eerie howl of wind that now echoed through empty corridors and abandoned workstations. The gradual decline was a slow, agonizing process that mirrored the fading pulse of a once thriving heart. The factory's iron gates, once a symbol of progress, now rusted and weathered, creaked mournfully as they swung open in the breeze, an ominous harbinger of the impending darkness that would shroud Ravenbrook. The factory's abandonment was met with a mix of nostalgia and resignation, a poignant reminder that even the mightiest of structures could succumb to the inexorable passage of time. Today, the Ravenwood Factory stands as a somber monument to a bygone era, a ghostly sentinel overlooking a town that has moved on, leaving behind the echoes of its industrial past. The wind carries traces of memories within its whispers, brushing against the remnants of what was once a thriving hub of activity. Nature reclaims its territory, as vines crawl up walls and weeds find purchase in the cracks of forgotten walkways. The factory's windows, once a canvas for the dance of light and shadows, now stare out like empty eyes, bearing witness to the ghosts of its former inhabitants. Ravenbrook streets, once bustling with the energy of factory workers heading home after a long day's work, now bear a hushed, solemn demeanor. The factory's absence is a void that can never be filled, a tangible reminder that the fortunes of a town can be inexorably tied to the rise and fall of its industrial heart. And so, Ravenbrook stands as a testament to the transient nature of human endeavors, a cautionary tale etched into the very fabric of its existence, a story of growth, decline, and the haunting echoes of a forgotten factory. The factory's rusted gates, their once imposing elegance eroded by the relentless march of time and the capricious forces of nature, emitted an eerie, mournful groan as they reluctantly swung open to reveal the entrance to the forsaken realm of the Ravenwood Factory. Those who dared to approach its threshold were greeted by an atmosphere pregnant with anticipation, a palpable tension that hung in the air like a shroud, warning of the mysteries and terrors that lay within. As the brave souls stepped over the threshold, their footsteps echoed through the hollow corridors with an eerie resonance that seemed to magnify the vastness of the factory's abandoned expanse. The beams of their flashlights cut through the darkness like fragile threads of hope, casting disjointed and disorienting shadows on the decaying walls. Each step forward was an unwitting descent into the depths of an otherworldly labyrinth, where reality and imagination intertwined in a sinister dance. The factory's past glories were now obscured by layers of dust and decay, the floor beneath the explorers' feet a treacherous landscape of broken tiles and forgotten debris. Their footsteps stirred up swirls of dust that danced in the feeble beams of light, as if the very air was imbued with the restless spirits of the factory's former occupants. The walls, once adorned with vibrant posters and motivational slogans, now bore the scars of neglect, their peeling paint resembling the torn skin of a wounded beast. As the explorers ventured deeper into the factory's depths, the air grew colder and more oppressive, each breath carrying a weight that seemed to settle in their chests. The darkness seemed to take on a life of its own, clinging to the edges of their vision, threatening to engulf them in an abyss from which there might be no return. It was as if the factory itself was a sentient entity, a malevolent force that watched their every move with a sinister curiosity. The factory's inner chambers revealed a tableau of desolation and decay that spoke of a history fraught with suffering and despair. Rust-covered machinery stood frozen in time, their once mighty gears and pulleys now locked in a state of eternal stagnation. Dilapidated workbenches bore the indelible marks of labor long gone, the ghostly imprints of hands that had toiled and crafted now lost to the annals of history. The very essence of the factory seemed to seep into the bones of the visitors, infusing them with a sense of foreboding that clung to their souls like a vengeful specter. As they continued to navigate the factory's labyrinthine corridors, the echoes of their own footsteps seemed to merge with the distant sounds of a bygone era, the rhythmic clatter of looms, the distant laughter of workers, the plaintive hum of machinery, blending together in a haunting symphony that transcended time and space. It was as if the factory itself yearned to relive its past glory, to resurrect the days of industry and labor that had once defined its existence. In the midst of this surreal and unsettling experience, the explorers exchanged furtive glances, their eyes betraying a mixture of curiosity and trepidation. The factory had become a realm of contradictions, a place where the boundaries between reality and illusion, past and present, were blurred beyond recognition. And yet, despite the overwhelming sense of unease, an unquenchable thirst for discovery drove them forward, deeper into the heart of the forgotten factory, where the true horrors of its history awaited their inevitable revelation. Inside the factory's sprawling maze of dimly lit corridors and echoing chambers, the explorers' footsteps reverberated like a haunting refrain, each step an echo of the factory's former vitality that seemed to resonate with a ghostly energy. The flickering beams of their flashlights cast eerie shadows that danced across the peeling wallpaper, conjuring phantoms that seemed to materialize and dissipate in the blink of an eye, a macabre ballet of light and darkness that lent an otherworldly quality to their surroundings. As they delved deeper, the factory's secrets began to unveil themselves in fragments that seemed to be whispered to them by the very walls. Faint traces of paint and patterns adorned the walls, fragments of a time when the factory's halls had been a canvas of inspiration and creation. The symbols etched into the aged plaster held an air of mystique, their meanings lost to time but hinting at a hidden language that connected the present to the enigmatic past. The explorers' senses seemed to play tricks on them, as distant murmurs of conversations and the rhythmic clanging of machinery blended seamlessly with the sound of their own breathing. It was as if the factory's history was woven into the fabric of the air itself, a tapestry of memories that transcended the boundaries of time. The very architecture of the building seemed to channel these echoes, guiding the explorers on a journey through the annals of its tumultuous past. In one particularly forgotten corner, they stumbled upon a cache of old journals, their pages yellowed and brittle with age. As they gingerly turned the pages, the factory's narrative unfolded before their eyes in a symphony of words and emotions. The journals bore witness to the struggles of the factory's workers, each entry a testament to the sacrifices made in the pursuit of progress. Tales of weary laborers, inked in faded script, painted a vivid picture of the toll that the factory's demands had taken on the human spirit. One journal entry, its ink blotched and its edges frayed, stood out as a chilling testament to the factory's enigmatic history. The anonymous author's words seemed to seep off the page, suffusing the air with a sense of foreboding. The factory hungers for more than just cotton and thread. Its thirst for sacrifice can never be quenched. The weight of those words settled over the explorers like a shroud, casting a pall of unease that clung to them like a persistent fog. As they continued to explore, the factory seemed to respond to their presence, its whispers growing more urgent, its echoes more insistent. Shadows danced along the walls, the play of light and darkness giving rise to fleeting apparitions that seemed to beckon and taunt. The explorers' own whispers, exchanged in hushed tones, were carried away by the currents of the factory's aura, as if the very walls possessed a supernatural ability to eavesdrop on their thoughts. Each step deeper into the factory's heart brought them closer to a nexus of inexplicable energy, a convergence of past and present that defied the boundaries of human understanding. The factory had become a vessel, a conduit through which the stories and emotions of generations past were channeled, an ethereal tapestry that bound them to an existence beyond the veil of mortality. With hearts pounding and senses heightened, the explorers felt as though they were unraveling a cosmic riddle, piecing together the fragments of a puzzle that had been scattered across the fabric of time. The symbols on the walls, the whispers in the air, the tales etched into the journals, all coalesced into a symphony of truth that resonated with a disconcerting clarity. And as they delved deeper, they came to realize that the forgotten factory held not only the stories of its workers, but also the restless spirits of those who had toiled and suffered within its walls, their presence an indelible imprint on the very essence of the place. Within the heart of the Ravenwood factory, the explorers found themselves surrounded by a labyrinthine expanse that seemed to stretch into eternity, a maze of dimly lit passageways and forgotten alcoves that whispered of forgotten secrets. The rust-covered machinery, once the pulsating heart of industry, now stood frozen in time, their skeletal forms a haunting testament to the toil and sweat that had once animated their mechanical souls. As the explorers moved further into the depths of the factory, they stumbled upon an arrangement of ancient workbenches, their surfaces marred by the scars of countless hours of labor. The wood bore the imprints of tools long discarded, the indentations a silent tribute to the skilled hands that had shaped the factory's destiny. In the corners of the room, tattered remnants of uniforms lay like spectral remnants of a bygone era, their threads unraveling into the mists of time. The walls of the factory, adorned with faded posters and motivational slogans, bore witness to the camaraderie that had once bound the workers together in their pursuit of progress. Now, these images and phrases seemed like echoes of a distant dream, their messages of unity and purpose faded into obscurity, leaving behind a sense of melancholic irony. The air itself seemed to carry the ghosts of laughter and camaraderie, as if the very atmosphere retained the residual energy of human interaction that had long since dissipated. Among the relics of industry, the explorers stumbled upon a collection of worn leather-bound journals, their pages brittle and fragile to the touch. As they gingerly turned the pages, the voices of the factory's past inhabitants seemed to resonate through the written words, a chorus of stories and experiences that reached out from the pages like spectral hands. The journals revealed the intimate struggles and aspirations of those who had once toiled within the factory's walls, their narratives painting a vivid portrait of life in the shadow of industry's towering presence. Amidst the tales of labor and dedication, one particular journal entry bore an air of sinister revelation, its words hinting at a darkness that had long been concealed beneath the surface. The anonymous author wrote with a sense of trepidation, "The factory hungers for more than just cotton and thread. Its thirst for sacrifice can never be quenched." These words, etched onto the page with an ink that seemed to carry an otherworldly weight, cast a long and chilling shadow over the explorers' collective consciousness, igniting a spark of fear that flickered like a candle in the wind. As they delved deeper into the factory's depths, the explorers couldn't shake the feeling that they were peeling back layers of reality, uncovering a reality that existed in parallel to the one they knew. Shadows seemed to lengthen and twist, taking on shapes that defied the laws of physics and reason. Each step was an unsettling descent into a realm where the boundary between the tangible and the intangible, the real and the surreal, blurred into a nightmarish tapestry of the mind. With every passing moment, the explorers' senses became increasingly attuned to the uncanny symphony that enveloped them. The faint echoes of footsteps, the distant creaking of machinery, the spectral whispers that seemed to brush against their ears, all coalesced into a haunting crescendo that reverberated through the very fabric of their being. It was as if the factory itself had become a living, breathing entity, an entity that hungered for acknowledgement and recognition, an entity that demanded to be heard. As they navigated the maze of memories and shadows, the explorers' own identities seemed to blur and meld with the spirits of the factory's past inhabitants. Their thoughts, fears, and hopes intermingled with the spectral energies that permeated the air, forming a symbiotic connection that transcended the boundaries of individuality. In that twilight realm, they became vessels for the factory's stories, conduits for the echoes of labor and sacrifice that had shaped its history. And so, as they pressed on, the explorers became intertwined with the very essence of the Ravenwood factory, unraveling the threads of a nightmare that had slumbered beneath the surface for generations. The boundaries between observer and observed, between past and present, dissolved into a maelstrom of existential dread and morbid fascination, a dance of perception and reality that led them inexorably toward a revelation that would forever alter their understanding of the factory's haunting legacy. The explorers, now caught in a web of unrelenting horror, found themselves ensnared within the factory's grasp, their every movement a desperate struggle against an invisible force that sought to imprison them within its malevolent embrace. The very air seemed to thicken around them, a suffocating shroud that pressed against their skin and sent chills down their spines, as if the factory itself had become a living entity determined to keep them captive within its twisted heart. In their frantic bid for escape, the explorers retraced their steps through the labyrinthine corridors, their path illuminated by flickering flashlights that cast elongated and disorienting shadows. The walls, once static witnesses to the passage of time, now seemed to shift and contort, their dimensions warping as if responding to the explorers' terror. Each turn of a corner revealed a disorienting panorama of distorted reality, a nightmarish funhouse of warped perspectives that further eroded their grasp on sanity. The factory's entrance, tantalizingly close, remained an ever-receding beacon of hope, a mirage that taunted the explorers as they struggled to break free from the clutches of their own fears. The gates, which had creaked open so ominously upon their arrival, now stood as an impenetrable barrier, locked in a mockery of permanence. The very act of retracing their steps felt like a descent into an abyss, a vertiginous journey into a reality that had been twisted and contorted beyond recognition. A sudden, deafening scream shattered the oppressive silence, a sound that seemed to emanate from both the past and the present, a discordant cacophony that reverberated through the very fabric of the explorers' souls. It was a scream that encapsulated the agony of generations, a primal wail that encapsulated the factory's history of suffering and despair. The explorers clutched their heads, their senses overwhelmed by the sheer intensity of the sound, a sound that seemed to strip away the layers of their humanity, leaving them exposed to the raw and unfiltered horrors of the factory's existence. Gasping for breath, bodies trembling with a mixture of terror and exhaustion, the explorers stumbled out of the factory's maw, collapsing onto the cold, unforgiving ground. The gates slammed shut behind them with a finality that seemed to seal the factory's malevolent secrets within its decaying walls. Their escape had come at a cost measured in frayed nerves and fractured psyches, a cost that left them forever scarred by the indescribable horrors they had witnessed. Even in the safety of the outside world, the factory's haunting presence continued to linger, its malevolent aura permeating every corner of the town of Ravenbrook. Whispers of the explorers' ordeal spread through hushed conversations, their faces haunted by the indelible marks of their traumatic journey. The very town itself seemed to have absorbed the factory's malevolent energy, its streets and buildings bearing witness to the horrors that had transpired within its decaying walls. Ravenbrook, once a tranquil haven, had become a realm of perpetual unease, its inhabitants forever plagued by the specter of the forgotten factory. The explorers, forever changed by their harrowing experience, were left to grapple with the knowledge that they had glimpsed into the abyss, that they had journeyed into a nightmare realm that existed beyond the realm of comprehension. The factory's legacy had become intertwined with their own, a haunting reminder that some truths were too terrifying to be confined to the recesses of memory, that some horrors could never truly be escaped or forgotten.